In this video, we're going to look at how to determine whether a function is even, odd, or neither. And the function in question is f of x equals 4x squared plus 2x. Now, anytime you're given the function in function notation, the first step is always the same. You just want to figure out what the f of negative x is. So that's just putting a negative x in the place of x everywhere you have an x in the original function. So instead of 4x squared, we're going to have 4 parentheses negative x squared. And plus 2x, instead of plus 2x, we're going to have plus 2 multiplied by negative x. And now we want to simplify this however we can. Now keep in mind you always want to put the negative x in parentheses because if there are exponents, that needs to be applied to the negative as well as to the x. Now in simplifying this, we can bring the 4 down. Negative x to the second power is just going to be x squared, because a negative number raised to an even power is always going to be a positive number. And then 2 times negative x is going to be minus 2x. Now we've done all the algebra we can, so once you get to this step and you've simplified the f of negative x, now you want to try to figure out what the conclusion is. And the conclusion, you're going to determine that based on the rules for an even or an odd function. So if it's an even function, then once you evaluate the f of negative x, in other words what we have circled in red right now, if it's the same function that we started out with, the exact same, then it's going to be an even function. In this case, it's not the exact same though, because if you compare this closely, we have 4x squared plus 2x in the original function, and the f of negative x simplified to 4x squared minus 2x. So this little plus turned into a minus, and that's a rather small issue, but it does make the functions not the exact same. So this is definitely not going to be an even function. So now let's test to see if it is an odd function. So if it's an odd function, then all of the signs are going to change. So in other words, all of the pluses turn to minuses, or all the minuses turn to pluses from the original function to the f of negative x counterpart. But in this case, we have a positive on the 4 and a positive on the 2 coefficient. And if you look at our answer down here where we simplified the f of negative x, we have a positive on the 4, but we have a negative on the 2. So all the signs didn't change. Only one of the signs changed. So therefore, it's definitely not going to be odd either. So when you've run it through both of the tests for even and odd, and you get an x on both of them, or in other words, if it's not even or odd, then your conclusion is that it has to be neither. So this particular function is neither even nor odd. And that's your answer.